Arcino here. Let's talk about it. Marriage. What does it really mean to you? Those who are in it. Now, if you know me, you automatically know one or maybe two things, right? I am single. I am not married because I like to move around. Not that I like going around just being with any woman at any time. That's not the point. The point is, I do what I do for the simple fact that I know I have not found the one. And I know marriage is a commitment. I know what it takes. I know the responsibility. I know the rewards. I also know in this day and age, marriages and divorces are very high, and people don't see the value in it anymore. And they forget one or two things, or maybe more than one or two things. But more importantly, marriage is about the bond, right? You often hear it, but you rarely see it followed through, right? The bond. The bond is missing. Why is the bond missing? Because normally we are too focused on what we think we know about the marriage. From observing marriages, today I spent time at my friend's house who's married. And as I sat there and as we spent time and we're watching this, it's almost, just surprising to me how things have, in other words, just transpired, just how it worked out. I'm sitting there today, and it was the first time I've seen them in months. Like, this is the first time because of the pandemic. They really haven't been around, and I really hadn't had a chance to go see them. So this marked like one of the first times we actually had a chance to speak and see each other. And he's gained weight. She's neurotic as ever. Good people. It's just a difference in how I knew them before and how they are now. Now, when I first saw them, the pandemic had just started. I can notice certain things in the marriage that was different, things that people ignore. Remember that key word, ignore, because that's what happens in a marriage. People ignore situations right away. They make a decision to say, I'm going to let this fight go. I'll save it for another fight. I'll ignore this. So when you say you're going to ignore something, right away, you already don't like it, but you're not going to make a fuss about it. And you're going to just keep that in your craw for a while. And then later on, it's going to build up when other things start to pile on that you have ignored. Because in a man's mind or a female's mind, if you ignore it, that means it doesn't bother you. You haven't said anything to them. Hey, didn't bother me. So in his or her mind, these things are not bothering you. So if you're not bothered, they're not gonna bring it up. They're not going to stop to say anything to you. Why? Don't bother. Now, the first thing that goes is the actual bond. Right? That bond. That's the first thing to get ruptured. And what happens is things is all connected in the relationship starts to fall apart. And the first thing that starts to go is the intimacy. Now, when you say intimacy, everyone thinks sex. Intimacy don't mean sex. Intimacy means just that. It could be conversation, the one-on-one, that moment between you and your spouse, those moments. So when you talk intimacy, it's the connection, that bond. That is the first thing to get disrupted in a marriage. Sure enough, saw it today on full display. Well, you got a wife that's crying out for attention, and the husband assumes that the wife is just needy and spoiled, unappreciative. While the wife feels as if she's being ignored. She feels like everything I'm doing here is just completely being ignored. She feels invisible. So she starts doing other things to try to fill the void that she's feeling from the normal husband. In a normal sense of a case, this is normally how it goes. The husband goes to work, comes home, and goes through the rest of his day. Eat, watch a movie, watch sports, video games, or whatever he does. And he eats dinner, he goes to bed. He's tired. He had a long day. That might work for a couple of days, but when you start making that a habit, what you're excluding is your wife, your spouse. She doesn't feel included in anything. You're giving your all to the job, and a man will feel like, hey, why are you complaining? I'm paying for all this. Well, I'm putting all the money in here. Be glad I came home. And that's not a marriage. The fact that you come home, you shouldn't be rewarded just because you come home. You shouldn't be rewarded because you're doing what you're supposed to do as a husband. The wife just wants some of your time as well. Some of it should be directed towards her. And it's the little things, the conversations. Now, if your wife got kids, she's watching kids, she's hearing babies crying all day. Wah, wah, wah. She's basically there. And you come home and say, look, call your girlfriends. Go with your girlfriends, go hang out with your girlfriends, go do this, go do that. You're trying to get rid of them. But they're not married to their girlfriends. They are not married to their girlfriends. They're married to you. So The thing is, you cannot lose that connection. Once that starts to get ruptured, all kind of problems that would not have ever existed in life will start to come up. Every little thing will start to irritate them. They feel like they have to fight you on everything. What do you mean trust? Trust? You married him, so the trust has got to be there. What you gonna do? Not trust him and marry him? That would be goofy. I don't trust you, but here's the ring. No, it's beyond that. You have to realize that there are a lot of things at play here in a marriage. And it's difficult. It takes work. It takes people wanting to do that. Some men feel, and some women feel, once they're married, things just go back the same way it used to be. It don't take work. We're just going on as we normally have. And what we have learned over time is that it all matters. All of it. It all matters. It's all a part of it. And it never is the same as when you were dating. Never. That doesn't exist. Now, sometimes people have to grow in the marriage. They have to spend time in the marriage actually growing. How weird is that? Grow inside of a marriage? Who does that, right? Well, it's a lot of people that do it. Sometimes that's how the strongest marriages are connectedly put together. They have to grow. And if they don't, then people grow apart, and then they just say this isn't working, and they get divorced. And this is how early divorces happen. People run into a stalemate and then be like, this ain't working out. I don't know what it is here. I don't know what's going on, but I don't like this. It ain't working out. Now, that's never been me, but I've seen instances where this has happened, where people get married for the wrong reasons. If you get married other than I want to be with this guy for the rest of my life because I love this person and I want to build a family with him, and this is my life partner, then you're marrying a guy because you're pregnant, or you're marrying a guy because you're about to turn 30, or you're about to be 26, or because your girlfriend got married. These are the wrong things. These are the things that lead to early divorces. So you want to avoid those pitfalls. So you have to really know the person you're marrying. That's why I tell people, like, look, I get it. You want to get married. You want to wear the ring. You want to go dress shopping and all of that. But the marriage doesn't start until it's you and your husband or your spouse or whatever, when y'all are in that home. All the gifts, all the everything else is cute, is nice, but it doesn't start until you guys are at home. Well, the first 6 months is normally a blast. Then things settle down. Then all these ideas start happening. And when you marry an idealist, people don't like for things to stay the same. That never happens, especially in a marriage. It's like, do you think your wife is gonna actually stand around and wait for you to keep things the same? They're gonna want things to change or evolve. A wife is gonna they're gonna say, let's go on vacation. A wife's gonna say, let's go get this. I wanna get this new deck set, furniture for the deck. I wanna get this new exercise equipment. I wanna do, women love to do these things because they're feeling they needed to fill a void. A lack of direct connection with their spouse. When should you get married? When you feel you're ready for marriage. But first, you have to be ready for marriage. You have to know everything it details, everything that comes along with it, and you have to be prepared for it. So before you could demand that your spouse be all of these things, you have to be those things too. You don't have to be a perfect person. You can be as screwed up as possible. But you just find somebody just as screwed up as you, and y'all can make it. Believe me, I know some screwed up people who are making it in marriage. And you're like, how is this working? Both of y'all are just a mess. But it works. That's his mess, that's her mess. And together they just one big mess. But it works. You know, when you have something that you want, and the whole world, marriage is overrated, tell me something we don't know. The fact that marriage is overrated is like a near understatement as to what really is going on. The problem that's really going on in society and in this world is not that marriage is overrated. It's the fact that people who are getting married have no idea of what a marriage is about. So they've made it a one big reality show joke. They even got a reality show called Married at First Sight. Like as soon as they're meeting each other, they're getting married. They have actually made a television show about this, just to show you how ridiculous it is. So obviously, what we're talking about is real. Yeah, it's a business contract, but if the person don't love you and you're in a loveless marriage, then it's like, what's the point? Unless it's just for business and she's okay with you getting love somewhere else, or you okay with her doing vice versa, then yeah, by all means. Well, the world and society are two different things. They have so many different ways to go about accomplishing things. It takes work. My buddy worked 12 hours a day. He came home. He wants to come home. He wants to watch the Cubs game. He come home. He watched the Cubs game. He's all excited about the Cubs game. Then all of a sudden, that ain't good enough. He's like, I just made it home. Let me just finish this game. I get to catch a night game. I just want to go into the game. You can have me for the rest of the night. He can't get to finish the Cubs game. Because throughout the game, well, this person called, and then this person called, and then that person called, and this is what's happening today. And she's barraging you because she never gets to really speak to you. She never has that intimacy. And the men normally forget this more than anybody else in the world. Women want this connection. Men, it's very rare do you see men fighting for this. I've only seen women, the ones that's crying like, hey, I'm not invisible, I'm here. And now it's so many more distractions now for marriages. Men have sports right in the palm of their hand. They can have their phone, the games on the phone. You got video apps on the phone. You have all these things to keep you distracted and a way to keep you not communicating and doing things with each other. Most of the successful marriages I have seen, they do a lot of things together. They spend a lot of time. They communicate with each other well. They do a lot of events together that they're really genuinely each other's best friend. Like completely. Without a shadow of a doubt, they're each other's best friend. Those are the most successful marriages I have seen so far. As far as like no fights, you know. They do things I wouldn't do, but yeah, I'm not married. And they're perfect for each other. But things get to a point where people get tired of being somebody who's doing 60, 70% of the work. And money is not the answer. Rich people go through this all the time. See, what rich people do, and it's insulting, but they do it, is they tell a woman, hey, all the bills are paid. You don't have nothing here to really do. I mean, it's nothing for you really to do here, so just go ahead and Go out with your girls. Go do something. But she wants to be with you. She wants to spend time with you. She wants husband time. And she don't feel like that's something she's got to fight to get. Well, see, here's the thing. Okay, but here's the thing. The people that do that, they also come there and start demanding things from the wife. they overload the burden. Not only do they ignore, they want to be babied. Can you believe that? While we talking, the same people who doing that and ignoring her are the same people that want to be babied. They want to be babied also. Of course, a woman would always want to be married. See, for a woman to be married, that means this man wants to say, you're the one. Whatever your spouse wants to say, you're it. I chose you, you're special. You got a ring. And see, young women, especially in the African American community, they don't get this honor. A lot of them don't get this honor because they spent their lives surrounded in relationships that are broken, or single mother, there's no father there, dad gone. So to them, this is the norm. And they don't think about getting married. They think about partying it up with the girls and taking trips and all these things. And by the time they realize, okay, wait a minute, I got to get married. See, white girls and Hispanic girls, they don't think like that. They think, okay, I partied it up. 24, 25, we got to start getting married. They start gearing towards marriage through college. White people get married fast. They get married young and they get married fast. Well, mostly, that's why a lot of white people get married like 3-4 times. Black folks ain't getting married that many times. They ain't going through no 4 weddings. That's out. But no, white people, they be like on the 3rd marriage, they old enough to get it done. But a lot of it is people marrying for the wrong reasons. Again, we've already covered that. But you're dealing with a situation where people now are just getting married to get married. But white people depends a lot on the structure, and they realize the value in the structure of family. It's actually good for business. It's good for everything else. They grew up in this. A lot of them grew up with the mother and the father, the structure, the kids, the grandkids, and all this stuff. They built around this structure. So to them, this is the norm. You get a wife, you get a house, you move in, you have your family, and then you could just go about doing your thing. No, it don't work that way. Well, I get those, when you gonna get married? You gotta get down the aisle. Come on, man. You gotta stop these cowboy ways. Everybody's gonna tell you that, but you gotta live what's best for you. I don't want to get married and marry the wrong person. Because life is short, but it's long when you marry the wrong person. Spending your life miserable, can't get out of it. You don't want to be that person. So you don't want to be miserable in your marriage. If you married this person, it was for a reason. Find out what the reason is and see if there's something to work on. I'm out.